The following is a Terry Wyce production. Hey everybody, welcome to the program. Welcome to another installment, episode as it were, of Wyce Thoughts. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Terry Wyce. I am your professor of thought. I am your counselor at the virtual campfire, and I'm so glad you decided to drop by the podcast today and spend some of your valuable time with me. It is greatly appreciated. And my friends, I'm going to try to make it time well spent, okay? So sit back and relax. And hey, if you want to get a hold of me, just go to my website. You can go to wycethoughts.com, wycethoughts.com. Just make sure you spell my name right, W-Y-C-E, wycethoughts.com. Or you can email me at mail, M-A-I-L, mail at wycethoughts.com. All right, on today's episode of the podcast, what does it take to get you motivated? That's what we're going to talk about. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Wyce Thoughts. So glad you're here. So glad you've decided to join me today. And I hope you are doing well out there. Summer is in full swing, isn't it? Oh, are you enjoying some of the weather? I'll tell you, up here, though, unfortunately, in the Northeast, we are hampered by the Canadian wildfires. The Northeast, from whence the program cometh, we are still hampered by those pesky wildfires from our neighbors to the north. Shame on you, Canada. Shame on you. You know, Smokey the Bear said it best quite a few years ago, only you can prevent forest fires. However, evidently either Mother Nature, God, irresponsible people, unfortunately, had other thoughts and ideas for that. So hopefully our neighbors to the north, Canada, will get their wildfire act together and get some of those under control, because, you know, it's over 80 degrees here again today outside the studios, and yours truly and such, we can't really go outside and enjoy the nice weather because they have an air quality alert. It was at 6:30 a.m. this morning when, recording the podcast here, when I got up today on this date, it was 158 particles. Now, just to give you a frame of reference, that's unhealthy for all groups. Anything 150 and up, I believe the fine folks at the Weather Channel said, anything under 150 or over 150 and up is not healthy for everyone. And so I was like, wow. Now, to give you, again, a frame of reference, just a mere 24 hours earlier, it was only 48 particles of pollutants in the atmosphere the day before, which they consider, okay, you're fine, you know. I mean, you'd rather get down to under 30 or nothing, but there's always, from what I've am led to understand, there are always some natural pollutants in the atmosphere, whether made by nature, the planet itself, what have you. I mean, there's always something going on, let's face it, right? But so that's, unfortunately, one of the things this summer we're dealing with now are these pesky, raging Canadian wildfires that just seem to be going on and on and on and on, and with seemingly no end in sight. I mean, one would think, with all the modern technology that we have in the world today, that there would be some form of a process that they could attack these wildfires with, right? One would think that. One would hope that. However, it just seems to be their nemesis right now. And I mentioned this on a past episode or two, and you can check it out over at wycethoughts.com. Isn't it odd and strange that these wildfires seem to have started almost all simultaneously? And and I don't mean exact minute, hour, or week, but I mean, within a span of a couple weeks, these things all seem to start at the same time. And I'm like, what is going on? I don't know. It's just, it's the weird. The more I go along here in my life, especially the last 5 years, the more strange oddities I don't know, maybe I'm just becoming more self-aware. How about you? It just seems like the world's getting a little wonky or wonkier, to coin one of those modern phrases. It just really sometimes just baffles my mind at some of the things that I see in the news. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I got to take a step back and say, okay, I'm not going to watch the news for the next couple of days. I'm going to take a step back from that and from the social media, because it just, if you really get into this, and my hat goes off to content creators that, sorry about the noise, folks. My hat really goes off to these content creators that are, daily updating everything and on Facebook and Twitter and Truth Social and Rumble and YouTube, all that stuff. My hat really goes off to these people that just dive right into the weeds on a lot of this stuff, because I'll tell you, it's enough sometimes to really kind of make you go, with some of the things I've seen and read and heard. And I wonder how much of it is actual reality or sensationalized, for lack of a better term. But anyway, let's get into what the program is about today. Anyway, we talked enough about things that we should, just some basic stuff to get us going here. But I hope you're well. I hope your family's well. I hope everybody's safe. I hope you're at least trying to enjoy your summer and, take advantage of the nice weather, whatever part of the country or world you may be listening in. Hopefully it is summer by you. But what I want to talk to you about today, or talk with you about, is what does it take to get you going, to change, to motivate you to change? Is it just being at your wit's end and saying, that's it, I've had it, I've had enough, virtually screaming, and I've had enough, I can't take it anymore? Or is it subtlety, some subtle things that'll make you do some introspective thought and say, you know what, I've got to change. Now, when I say change, I'm going to give you some specific examples here in just a few moments. But right now, I'm speaking in a general, or in generalities. I'm just speaking in general terms. How's that? I'll say it that way. What if you had to stop and think? If someone said to you, "Hey, you, what makes you change? What does it take to make you change something? Whether it's in your life, in your relationship, in your career path, in your thinking, in your process, what have you? What motivates you to change?" And if you really stop and think about this, okay, if you, and I'm not talking about just giving a quick, flippant answer. I mean, really take some time and think about this. Because I had to do it, because someone asked me this question, and I'm like, wow, that's a real, I wanted to give them the quick answer. I'm like, no. They said, no, take your time. I really, think on this and get back to me in a day or two, what you come up with. Really dedicate some time to thinking about what motivates you to change something in your life, in your behavior, and for your outcomes. So I did it. I dedicated some quiet time, turned off the distractions of the phone, the internet, the computer, the television, what have you. And I just took a walk out in nature, put on some noise-canceling headphones, and didn't listen to anything, just put on the noise-canceling headphones, for lack of a better term, to blot out the rest of the world, and so I could be alone with my thoughts. And a lot of us are scared. And I'm raising my hand here to you in the studio at times to be alone with our thoughts, because we are so used to having that outside narration in our lives, that outside direction, that outside voice, if you will, talking to us, telling us what's going on, what we should be thinking, what the next scheduled event is, what the next item on the agenda is. We're so used to that. and having that in our thoughts to say, when we get alone with our thought, it's like we panic. We don't know what to do. It's like, what is this silence? Did you ever hear that expression? Silence is deafening, or it was a deafening silence. Did you ever read that in a book? That, I think, is what they mean, because sometimes the silence is deafening. There's people out there with medical afflictions called tinnitus. And tinnitus is where you have like a ringing in your ears. The easiest way, if you've never had this, for those of you who don't know what tinnitus is, if you've ever gone to a rock concert, then you come home from that rock concert and your ears are kind of like, you get that. It's almost like that. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's like almost like a light ringing in your ears. Sorry, a little sip of Java here for the vocal cords. And that tinnitus, that soft ringing in your ears, and for some, God love these people, I don't know how they put up with it. Some people, it's really loud and it's distracting and it doesn't allow them to have silence. There was an actual article on the internet that I'll try to attach to this episode of the podcast about, can you hear silence? But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here, long way around to get there, is that when we get alone with our thoughts, some of us, and a lot of us, yours truly included at times, and this is something I'm working on, we're scared to be alone with ourselves and with our thoughts, to really tune out the world and do some quality introspective thinking. But by doing that, you can really uncover a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about you. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages and pets too, I strongly feel this is vital as far as helping yourself to get to a point in your life that you are in charge of you, not the world, not your spouse, not your friends, not your job, not the crowd, air quotes as it were. You are in charge of you. And I think that's vitally, vitally important. So what I did is I took this person's advice and I kind of tuned out the world, and I really did some introspective thought on what really does it take to motivate Terry Wyce to do something. Change a mannerism, change a habit, change a way of thinking, change a thought process, change a direction, if you were, And I'm going to give you some examples right now. So in other words, let's say you've got a few extra pounds you're carrying around and you want to drop 10 pounds. Now, you've heard me pontificate on this and say this, and I know some of you, my longtime listeners, are going to say, Terry, man, you've been talking about dropping 20 pounds for the past 2 years, bro. What's the deal? It's been 2 years. You can't drop 20 pounds in 2 years? Here is the struggle, my friends. Here's the struggle. I love food. I love goodies. And I'll get to a point where I will drop 3, 4, 5, 6 pounds, and I have the same struggles as many of you out there. Okay? I'll be so proud of myself that I want to reward myself. And I say, oh, you dropped 5 pounds in the last 2 weeks. Have that slice of cake, bro. Have that hot fudge sundae. Hey, have that extra, helping of potatoes at dinner or what have you. And what happens? That old human being mentality creeps in, and you're like, oops, the scale starts going boop, 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 right back up. And I'm like, oh. So what I'm working on to motivate me is I got a pair of pants that just fit right now, and I want them to fit a lot better. So what's motivating me? What am I using to motivate me? Besides the usual things you'll hear people say, oh, you'll feel better if you lose some weight. You'll do that. And I'm not obese by any means, but I would be what I am considered, I would say, the doctor would say, is overweight. I'm not on the obesity scale. I'm not like, hey, we got some worries here. No, I am in the overweight category. So 20 pounds for me is going to be a good point. I want to get under 200 pounds. Okay. I am right now, I am fluctuating between 219 and 221 or so, and I want to get down to 199. That's my goal weight. I will share that with you all. That is my goal weight, 199. Okay. So that's just FYI. And I've mentioned this on past episodes of the podcast as well. Okay. So that being said, is that I use those pair of pants that just fit me just so as a motivation to keep going and start losing that weight. Okay? So that's what I'm doing. I'm using that as motivation to push me forward. Now, that's just one example. Another thing, as far as what motivates me, is visualizing. Now, I hang on before you get upset and start saying, all right, man, here we go. Ooh, Terry's going to get out his crystals and, we're going to have some soft meditative music playing in the background. Easy, fellow traveler. And not saying that's a bad thing for those that do that. What I'm saying is I visualize an area of my life. Now, I'm in a transitional phase right now. As I mentioned before, on past episodes of the podcast, again, I used to work, I went to college for broadcasting and broadcast communications. I dabbled in radio briefly when I was younger. Did a lot of what are called music road shows, portable DJs, I guess you people call it nowadays. And played weddings and parties, DJ'd. I was a disc jockey in bars around town and such. And did some things with that. Made some good money. Met some really interesting people along the way as well. And I got out of it as I got older because I got into, having a family, trying to start a family and things like that. And that type of lifestyle at the time, back in the 80s and early 90s and such, mid to 90s, man, there was just, it was a different kind of lifestyle that wasn't, at least from what I was experiencing and what I was, on my journey, wasn't conducive to having a family. And it was kind of interfering, I guess would be the lack of a better term, was interfering. Maybe it was my lack of dedication to something that I was really happy doing, or my lack of knowledge, or my lack of commitment, or, just the way of looking at it. However, I stepped away from doing audio work and things like that. I still dabbled here and there doing some things with folks. But for the most part, I stepped away from a lot of that stuff. Fast forward now, a couple divorces later, fast forward to the late 90s, and where I met the current Mrs. W, I started getting more and more into it. I was more mature, wiser, I guess you could say. And I was working in a job and in a field that, while it paid the bills and at a rudimentary level, it was somewhat satisfying, I was still kind of unhappy at my core being. So I started diving back more into audio production, video production, things of that nature, exploring the possibility. And I had someone ask me, hey, if you could do something that really made you happy, what makes you happy? I said, well, I like making music and I like talking. People always tell me, Terry, you love hearing your own voice. My wife has told me, Mrs. W has told me, you just love the sound of your own voice. You get up in the morning and you're yada da 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 da. What can I say? I like the yap. I like the gift of gab. And a lot of times when I pull back and I'm quieter, people, hey, Terry, what's wrong with you? Are you sick? Are you mad? Because when I'm not talking, people think something's wrong. So I really gave that some introspective thought over the past few years and said, you know what? I'm in my 50s and I'm doing a job while, I'm making decent money at it. How fulfilling is it? And the other thing too with that is these companies out here, these corporations, they just, like that, man, they could drop you just like that and just say, we don't need you anymore. And you're done. The loyalty factor, as it were, is almost non-existent in many corporations. And I'm just not saying that to knock corporations. I mean, you might be working in an organization that you are fulfilled in your career. You feel that they're loyal to you and it's fulfilling and they have a good relationship with you. And I'm just stating what I've seen and experienced, just kind of the ways of the world nowadays. These corporations are out for these corporations. I mean, you can look on the news and see how many people have been let go from jobs, laid off at a moment's notice. Some of them don't even get it. They show up for work and the doors are locked. And I'm sorry, we're out of business. Wait, what? What happened? And then they're out looking for careers at, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, what have you. So I really, on the motivational factor, started thinking, what is it going to take, Terry, to motivate you to pursue your passion and do what you love to do what makes you happy? So I started pursuing and edging more towards that. Being that I'm at a point in my life where our children are grown, they're all moved out of the house. The wife makes a good income. And that opportunity through a set of circumstances here in the past 90 days has presented itself for me to move and take a step up and out and really go forward and try and pursue my passion to make a living doing what I love doing, which is talking, producing things. And that's where I'm headed. That's what I'm doing. But what motivated me to do that in this instance, for this example, I would say is time. I mean, we're all here for a finite amount of time. Everybody thinks they're going to live forever. Not so. And, those of us that are blessed with many, many years on this planet, we talked about it on the last episode of Wyce Thoughts. Look under the episode time, the episode previous to this one. It's on the website at wycethoughts.com or your favorite podcast provider. We all think that there's unlimited amounts of time in our lives, and that's just not the case, my friends. And I'm not telling you this to be morbid or to scare you. If anything, I'm telling you this to motivate you because it started really motivating me and had me doing some serious consideration and a thought in what am I putting my time into? What am I investing my time in? Who am I investing my time in? What places are I investing my time in? And so on and so forth. Nothing will motivate you than an end date, whether it's on a project, your life, what have you. I implore you to start thinking about these things. We all have a finite time and an end date at some point in time. The only thing is with human beings, most of us don't know our end date, when we're going to go into the sweet by and by, which is probably a good thing. However, some of the acronyms that are out there floating around on social media, like they have LOL for laugh out loud, SMH for shaking my head. Well, they have one called YOLO. You only live once. Think about that. Seriously, think about that. You only live once. Do you want to waste it sitting in an office cubicle for 40 years and then have them come up to you and say, well, we can make a nickel more on our stock, so we're eliminating your whole department. Hey, thanks a lot. See ya. Think about that. What do you enjoy doing? What is your passion? What's going to motivate you to pursue that passion? Does your back have to be against the wall? Do you need unlimited resources so you can go pursue your passion in life? Some of the most gratifying things that I have read and even experienced in my own life has been when I didn't have unlimited, nobody dropped a bag of money on my head and says, oh, go do what you want. If you want to rescue animals, you want to start a foundation, you want to paint, you want to write, you want to sing, make a record, learn an instrument, whatever. Start a vlog, start a blog, start your own company. A lot of people out there doing it, my friends, A, didn't have an unlimited income source or unlimited knowledge to begin with. B, failed many, many, many times on their journey. But C, they stuck with it. I mean, failure is just one step closer to success, okay? I don't know if anybody said that, but I'm saying it. Failure is one step closer to success. And if you keep trotting along, and doing it, eventually you'll get there. Now, some people, it happens on a fast track. Some people, it happens after only a few times of failing. Some people, it takes hundreds of times to fail. And you can look this up easily. This information is easily gotten by doing a simple Google search on the internet about people that you and I deem as, wow, great successes. Some of the individuals that I was going through, and I was like, oh my God, 50 times before they actually patented it and got this done the right way? I mean, for those of you that partake in the spirits, Jack Daniels, look up the history of Jack Daniels and what that individual had to go through to make that company the worldwide success that it is, and the growing pains and the setbacks and the failures and the conquests that Jack Daniels went through. That's just one example. Albert Einstein. Everybody says, oh, Albert Einstein was a genius. He failed hundreds of times at things. And at the time, some of the people thought he was a lunatic. That's just one example, okay? Oprah Winfrey. Look at all the stuff she went through to become now the mega media giant that she has become. Nobody just walked up to her and said, oh, you're Oprah Winfrey. Oh, here you go. Here you go. Here's the keys to everything you've ever wanted in your life. No, these people got down in the weeds and suffered and persevered and strategized and, experimented and just had a vision and a goal to motivate them to pursue their passion and their dream. But what's it going to take to motivate you? Maybe you need a life coach, or maybe you just need that friend that's going to push you and prod you. Surrounding yourself with yes people is not the best thing, my friend. You got to have, it's good to have some encouragement, but you got to have people to call you out on things. Hey, you said, Terry, you were going to lose 20 pounds. Now you've lost 5 and you've gained 3 back. To me, that doesn't look like you're on the way to losing 20 pounds. Why? Have people call you out on things. Have people push you. Motivate you along the way. You don't want just yes people around you. That's never a good thing. You want to have people that'll challenge you. That's what you want. You want people to challenge you, motivate you to do better. That's what you need. I've tried, I've had people in my life that were just yes people to me because they didn't want to hurt my feelings. They didn't want to jeopardize a friendship, whatever. No, tell me how it is. Even if I don't want to hear it, even if I get angry at you, tell me how it is. I need that third-party perspective. Because I can sit there and say, hey, I lost 2 pounds in the past 5 weeks. Oh, look at me. I'm wonderful. And I need that other person tapping me on the shoulder saying, hey, buddy, 2 pounds in 5 weeks? You could do better. You must do better. I know you can do better. Or if you're starting a physical program and you're trying to get healthier, so you're going to start walking, what have you. I mean, I could go on about this topic for forever, and this is probably a topic we'll revisit more down the road. But I just wanted to sit and talk with you today and touch base about what motivates you. What is it going to take to motivate you to change your life for the better? To change your employer, to change your career, to change your relationships with everyone around you, to change your mindset, to motivate you, to push you to do that passion that you wanted. And maybe you've had, like me, a fire burning in you since you were a child, an adolescent, a teenager, and you pushed it aside. But one thing about your conscience, it'll always come back to remind you. Something will remind you, oh, yeah, I used to play the guitar. I used to play the drums. I used to write songs. I used to write poetry. I used to love to write stories. I used to love to read. I used to love to do this, that. YOLO, my friends. You only live once. Grab life with some gusto. Enjoy the journey. Don't be stuck like a gerbil on one of those wheels that all you're doing is spinning around, going in, punching in to pay the bills. There's so much more to living than this. And there's so much more to living your life than what you're doing right now. There's so many more ways you can be fulfilled. Don't just exist. Live. Love. Laugh. Enjoy the human experience. That's what I implore you to do. That's what I'm striving to do every day. Every day. And that's all I'm asking is for you to do as well. Live your life, my friends. Don't just exist. Enjoy your life. Experience your life. Everything along the way. And find what it takes to motivate you to get you there. Until next time, this is Terry Wyce, thanking you for listening to the podcast. And remember, wycethoughts.com. If you got any questions, comments, or feedback, please put it down right down in the show notes here. You can do it at the website, or you can hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. On Twitter, it's at Terry Wyce. Make sure you spell my name right, W-Y-C-E. If you need any voiceover work done, go to my website, terrywyce.com. I've got some examples going up there shortly. I know I said that on the last podcast. Again, motivation, right? I got some examples you can listen to on there. You can listen to the podcast here for, if you like my voice, what have you. But anyway, I'm not going to shamelessly plug that. But if you're interested, reach out, okay? And until next time, my friends, like I always tell you, to see a change in the world, you have to be the change in the world you want to see. It all starts with the person looking back at you in the mirror every day. You. Until next time, be good to yourself, be good to others, be kind to animals. Take care.